Hi all, I'm KB21. I'm a former Marvel Snap player that now is a regular Pocket player that also plays in a lot of tournaments, and I judge tournaments from time to time. If you're finding my content for the first time, I'd like to say a big welcome to my channel, where I will be doing regular tournament meta breakdowns and gameplay videos with various meta and off-meta decks. Over the past 6 weeks, at least 3 no-EX format tournaments have happened. Most recently was the BEC no-EX tournament. During the BEC, the most played deck with a showing of 42 players was the Ninetales Rapidash Blaine deck. This ultimately won its third no-EX tournament, cementing Ninetales Rapidash as what I believe to be the best deck in the no-EX format as of right now. Other popular decks in the tournament include Arbok Weezing, Greninja Tentacruel, and Alakazam Weezing. The top 8 of the BEC tournament had 4 Blaine decks, 2 Greninja decks, 1 Alakazam Weezing deck, and 1 Dragonite Baby Articuno deck. I will show a couple of those lists closer to the end of this video, but if you want to see the various lists, then please check out the link in the description of this video. Going back a few weeks, we have Little Legends League number 1, which was another no-EX format tournament. Once again, the most popular deck and the winning deck was the Blaine deck, with a few Weezing decks that were pretty popular too. Also, another 2 decks in this tournament besides Blaine that performed really well were Machamp, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and the Sandslash Primeape deck. Personally, I think that the top 3 decks to beat in this format are the Blaine Fighting and the Water decks that rise up to counter Blaine. Taking a look at some lists, first we have the no-EX Blaine deck with 7 supporters and a Farfetch'd. This was the list that won 2 previous no-EX formats. I personally would swap out 1 Sabrina for another Giovanni here to be able to hit for 100 with Ninetales pretty regularly. However, this list as it currently is a pretty strong list and obviously is doing really well in the no-EX tournaments. Another change that I might make is to sub something out for a red card. I'm very surprised that although this deck got first place, I'm very surprised that there was no red card in this list, considering the tournaments that it was being played in were actually open deck list formats, which typically most open deck list decks do have red card in their list. Then we have the Greninja Tentacruel list. Surprisingly, there are no Misties in this list, but it does seem like a really cool list. I personally have not played any games with it, but considering it's water and Blaine's weakness is water, I'm sure it is really good into Blaine. Just again, I have not personally had any experience with that, so I'm not really entirely sure. Next we have Dragonite Mewtwo. This uses the baby Mewtwo as a stall card. This is to stall while you build up the Dragonite in the back line. It also has 1 Kangaskhan to also be an extra stall card. I would personally change this list slightly. I don't like Pokedex in the list, nor do I like Pokedex as a card. So personally, I would take out the Pokedex and replace it with a second Kangaskhan to make sure you always have a stall monster in the front. The only other downside to that is that always making sure that you have another Stallmon to play also means that you're more susceptible to Sabrina in some places, but you're better off into Sabrina in other places. You certainly wouldn't want to have your baby Mewtwo up front with your Dragonite out back by itself, because then it's automatically Sabrina is going to come down and swap out that that Mewtwo to the Dratini, Dragonair, or Dragonite, whichever one you have in play at that time, and be able to do some damage to that Dragonite line and maybe actually take it out, setting you back a fair bit on both energy and tempo. The other side of that is that if you do have the extra basic out, so whether it's the Kangaskhan or the Mewtwo, when you do end up eventually pulling that Dragonite up front, you are then more susceptible to the Sabrina, because of course, once that, or if they Sabrina you at that point, then they're taking your Dragonite and putting that in the back line, and then you're forced to build up energy on the Mewtwo or the Kangaskhan to eventually retreat it back into that Dragonite. Next up, we have the Machamp, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan deck. This deck can front load a Hitmonchan to start, attacking for 30 very early on while still having a beefy body to allow you to stall a little bit to build up the Machamp in the back line. With the Sabrinas and the Hitmonlees, you can also force a low health Mon to the back line to then take it out with Hitmonlee if necessary. It may not be the best use of Sabrina, but it can definitely win a game in a pinch if necessary. One other positive that I'd like to point out with this deck is that the Machop, Machoke, Machamp line curves perfectly into one another. Machop needs 1 energy to attack for 20, Machoke needs 2 energy to attack for 50, and then Machamp needs 3 energy to attack for 100. In a no EX format, that 100 damage is going to take out the opposing Pokemon majority of the time if you do get that set up. Anything that's bigger that typically wouldn't be beaten by that Machamp in one swing is typically beaten through curve with the rest of the line. If you need, of course, that's only if you need to do that and you don't open the Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan. But if you open with the Hitmonlee or the Hitmonchan, you can always use those as a stall tactic while putting pressure on the opponent while you build up the Machamp in the back. Next up is the Alakazam Weezing deck. This runs both Dark and Psychic Energy, which works well typically because Weezing only needs 1 Dark and can set up poison without the energy, but also Alakazam only needs 1 Psychic Energy to actually use its attack. This, theoretically, combined with the Blaine decks needing to actually have Blaine and Ninetales to be able to take out a Weezing in 1 turn, should theoretically mean that the deck is really good into Blaine, considering it can stall and heal itself with Koga. It should theoretically be good into no EX formats. However, it has not been putting up great numbers in no EX formats. That could very well be different. It just might be due to the fact that not enough people are playing it to actually play or have it work out well enough for them to make a top cut. The last list I would like to talk about is the Prime Ape Sandslash list with the Promo Mankey. I actually played this deck in a no EX format with a similar list. I did manage to go 3-1 in that tournament. That was a 4-round tournament. However, I did not make top cut. With that being said, though, I do think a one-off of Hitmonlee should be in this deck for the reasons previously mentioned, but I'm not entirely sure what I would cut out of this list to make room for that Hitmonlee either. Well, that sums up the no EX format and gives some options to play in tournaments in this format. If you want to see more tournament results from the No EX tournaments, I will have 3 mid-size no EX tournaments linked in the description below that you can certainly take a look at, and take a look at the metagame as well as the standings for that. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel to get to see all of my future content. I'd also love to hear more from people that are watching my videos, so either comment down below with any suggestions or thoughts you may have, or you can join my community Discord, which is also linked in the description down below. Once again, I'm Kiwi, your resident Pocket player and Pocket Judge.